anything, like being able to go to the gym today. Like it could be so small, it could be tiny, it could be big, it could be whatever you want it to be. What you practice is what you become. Like you almost, if you're practicing gratitude, you become more positive. You made it feel like we had everything. Just living life with appreciation is just the best way to live life, I think, with gratitude as well. Welcome to the Stronger, Fitter, Happier podcast. I'm your host Vin, and today I am joined by my co-host Sadie. Nikhil is gone missing today. Not sure where he is.
Hi everybody.
So what we're going to be talking about in this episode is gratitude. And the reason why we've come up with the topic of gratitude is because recently I've been doing something that I used to do a long time ago, and then I stopped for a very long time. So one of our members ages ago got me a journal, and it's called the 5-minute journal. And I used to do it religiously, like every single day, every morning. And it put me into a very happy state, or just a positive mindset, I guess, in the start of the day. And then I ended on a positive mindset because there's a few questions that the journal asks you. And one, for example, is what are you grateful for? Name 3 things that you're grateful for. So that's how you start the day off. That's one of the questions I asked. And as it is Father's Day in a couple of days, we will be basically talking about what we are grateful for in terms of the lessons our fathers have taught us. So I'm not sure about you, Sadie, but I don't typically, I can write things in a nice thing in a card, but I probably can't say them to my dad's face. I just find it, maybe not, I don't know, uncomfortable, I guess. It's not the relationship we have. So he's on Facebook and he'll probably see this video or listen to this podcast. So this is my way of telling him what I appreciate about him and what I'm grateful for in terms of the lessons he's taught me. So we won't be going into big details, but to summarize, and hopefully, while it is a bit of a selfish episode because it's our Father's Day gift almost, you will take something from it and it'll help you live a stronger, fitter and happier life, or at least one of them. So Sadie, do you want to take it away? You want to start?
Well, first of all, I was just going to say, you mentioned about you do the journaling and things like that. It's funny because I've thought about doing that for so long. It's quite popular. I know a lot of people do a lot of these journaling things. Do you feel like it has helped you? Like, in what way do you feel like the journaling has helped you? Because I am looking at maybe starting it myself, but I'm just not sure how I feel about it. Like, what would you say are the benefits of maybe doing that? Like, what could I get from starting that, or someone listening?
So at the start of the year, I did a brain dump journal. So it's literally like in the morning, actually I did it in the evening because I couldn't sleep. Like I just had a lot on my head. So what I did was almost like a brain dump before I went to bed, and it started helping me fall asleep because I was getting it all out on a pad, but didn't necessarily put me in a good state, or like it just helped me sleep. I guess it did put me in a good state like that. So recently I found myself feeling a bit like almost not negative, but you know, with a little young child and stuff, you don't always get a great night's sleep. So you wake up and there's things, and I just almost straight into the day, and I found myself feeling sometimes a little short-tempered or snappy and just not my best self. And I thought back to like, when am I more positive and in a better state? And it was I watched a video and it reminded me of that journal I used to do, and I was like, oh yeah, like that was me in a really good state of mind. And then when I took a break from it before, my partner also told me, oh, like, why don't you start your journal again, because you always were very positive when you did your journaling. So I did it like a couple of years ago. I got back into it again, and then, you know, you stop doing things, and now I've got back into it again. And this time it's a bit quicker because I just downloaded the app version as opposed to, I still got the book. I haven't finished. I've still got a book version of the 5-minute journal. It's amazing because it's literally takes you 5 minutes every day to do. Whereas a task of journaling can seem a bit overwhelming because you don't know what you're going to write or what you're going to do. And the questions are really great. And they basically geared around gratitude.
Okay.
And the reason why I think it's so great is because it forces you to think about things that are you appreciate in life, that you value, that you that are just going to make your day better without anything even happening.
Yeah.
So
it's funny because I think, like you said, like I sometimes think, like when you asked off camera, we obviously prepared a little bit of like what we were going to speak about today, and you said to me, obviously, think of something that I'm grateful for that my dad has taught me. And I thought, oh God, like I've never actually had to sit there and think about it before. And it's true, like I never think about gratitude and what am I grateful for. So it was at first like a bit of a challenging task, because I was like, oh my God, like I never sit here and actually think about that. And obviously when I sat for a while and I thought about it, it did come to me and something did stand out. But yeah, I think it's something I do want to get into, because I feel like I need to start being a bit more grateful and thinking about the things that I'm grateful for.
Yeah, I think instantly, if you basically are doing something like a gratitude journal, you just appreciate, you're in a more positive state because you're more appreciative of what you have as opposed to what you're trying to go after. Everyone's life is like, even the name of this podcast, Stronger, Fitter, Happier, you want more, like you're trying to get to a different state. But sometimes just appreciating all you have and giving yourself, like the journal will say, like, how can you make today great? It gives you time to just set small tasks that are achievable to make your day great. So I'll just quickly go through what the journal does. Is at the start, it asks you for what are 3 things that you are grateful for this morning. Then it'll ask what will make today great, and then it tells you to write an affirmation, like a positive affirmation about yourself. So like, I don't know, for example, I am a great father, like that. And then at the end of the day, you have to reflect. So it will say, it asks you what happened today that made you happy. I think I'm probably messing up the questions, but it's around that, like what happened today that you basically liked almost, that made you feel good and happy. And then, you're reflecting on your day as opposed to just going to bed or not.
Yeah.
You're taking the time to think about, like that was nice, that was good, that was great. And then the final one is what would have made today better. So you're almost thinking about things like that you don't want to repeat tomorrow.
Yeah.
Things like that. Like yesterday last night I wrote down, spend more time with my partner. So like I would have spent more time because I didn't spend much one-to-one time. So it's thinking about all these things, like, and then that you can then make that change today to make today happier.
Yeah, exactly. That's good.
But what I've found myself doing is doing the journal throughout the day in my own head.
Oh, okay.
So someone else said this, I think it was Tim Ferriss, but he said, like, when you practice gratitude, like in a scheduled format, you find yourself almost practicing gratitude just unscheduled as well. So you start appreciating things, because it's not just like, oh, like I appreciate my family or I appreciate my children. It's literally like you could write down, like, I appreciate the sunshine this morning. I appreciate having a warm coffee. I appreciate anything, like being able to go to the gym today. Like it could be so small, it could be tiny, it could be big, it could be whatever you want it to be. But then that way, as you're doing it, you're doing it every day. You almost start thinking about, what am I going to say? What am I going to say what was great about today? You start thinking about, and then you in the moment are appreciative of that moment. Like,
yeah, exactly.
I remember, I think it was a couple of nights ago, my daughter was laying on my chest. We were on the floor, just literally laying there. I was tickling her back while we were in the middle of play. Like we were playing and then we stopped and she was just laying on me. And I thought, this is definitely a moment I'm going to write down. But it made me so much more present in that moment as opposed to just taking it for granted.
Yeah.
Not because I was thinking about what I'm going to write down, but it just came to me because it was like, it's like what you practice is what you become. Like if you're practicing gratitude, you become more positive. If you're practicing appreciation, you're going to generally be more appreciative of things in life. Whereas if you're someone who's constantly complaining, thinking of the negatives, you're always going to see the negatives in life as opposed to the positives. So it's about
true.
reframing your mind and putting you in a positive state. And I've noticed, like, if I get my journal done in the first, I don't know, half an hour of waking up, I come down and I'm more positive and I'm able to give a better energy to people around me. It's a very long answer to your question.
No, but it's good. I definitely think I need to start. I don't look at positives as much, and I don't look, obviously not saying I'm a negative person, but I don't actually sit back and think of the positives and think what I'm grateful for. So I think it's something that I should definitely start incorporating.
Yeah,
but
I think, yeah, go on.
I was going to say, now I need to get back to your question.
Yeah, so what is your thing that you're grateful for?
I think the most important thing for me, I'm grateful for, my dad has taught me that family always comes first. Like, family is very important and you should always put that first. Like, growing up, my dad has always, whether it's like on the weekends, always made sure he put his family first before going out. Like, everything growing up, all my friends would always say to me, like, your family are really close, like you guys do things together on the weekends, we sit and have dinner together. And that's because my mum as well, but my dad has really made that an important part of growing up. Like, we would make the time and effort to do things together, whether that's in the evenings and having that small kind of dinner together, all sitting at a table, like as we've grown up, and on the weekends, making sure that's time for us to spend with each other, not do our own thing. So yeah, that is one of the most important things and what I'm grateful for, because now growing up for me, and when I have a family of my own, it's exactly how I want to be. Like, I want to be like that family is the most important. And even as in like what's the word, like I can't think of it now, but he's always been very present as well, like as a father. Like, he's always been very present with coming to do school events and things with us on the weekends and taking us where we want to. Like, he's always been very present, and I'm grateful for that, because growing up, a lot of my friends didn't really have that. Either their family was very disconnected, or their parents maybe weren't so present, or like their family wasn't very close and it wasn't the most important part. So yeah, I know that might be quite a long answer there, but yeah, that is the most
it wasn't actually
thing I'm grateful for.
I want to actually dig into it. Like, what do you think? I know you mentioned about like, it's made you want to do that with your family, but why has that impacted your life so
because
positively?
I feel like you need family, like for having family around you, like especially when times are hard. Like, we've been through some struggles, and I know everyone has, but if we weren't so connected, if we weren't so family orientated, it probably would have been a lot harder to go through those times. So I think growing up and having that, and now when I have my own children and create my own family, I feel like that's why it's so important that family is seen as the most important thing that you have.
Can you think of a moment where you were like, you felt like, is there something you think of instantly, like a moment that encompasses what you're saying now? Like an example of you in your childhood or whatever, like you said.
What, as in like where like family was the most important thing, do you mean?
Yeah, like is there a moment you think of when you're thinking about this?
I don't know. Like, I don't know, just generally, really. Like, I can't think of one maybe specific moment in growing up and in time, but I feel like just generally, like, we've always been like this. And I think what really stood out to me and why I feel like a lot of people aren't like this is because I would always get, like, even my partner, Leon, when he first kind of met my family, one thing he always said was, you guys are so close with each other. You always do things together. You make time for each other, which his family weren't really like that growing up. And when I hear these things and my friends in school saying, like, even like on the weekends, we'll always try and do things together. And like, for us, eating dinner together is, a lot of people are like, oh my God, you still eat, like, have family dinners. A lot of people don't have that. So I think that's what's really kind of stuck out to me when people have actually mentioned to me, like, they've even said, you're so lucky that you have that. And I am. Like, it's so nice to have that.
Yeah, I didn't really eat with my dad growing up.
Yeah, see, exactly. So I know it does depend, like, everyone's situations are different and work can get in the way and things like that, and your hours that you're in and out of the house. But my dad always made it a priority. Like, we would all try as much as we can. It's different now because obviously as we've got older, people have their own lives and things that they're doing. but there's still the effort there. We still try and do things.
And like for parents listening to this, I think it's Sadie's brought up like a brilliant one where you know, something that you may not see it right now because you're not a parent just yet, but in the sense that I think a lot of parents may be either feeling like, oh, I'm glad I'm doing this, because then they'll be like Sadie when she's older, like, you know, appreciating that I was there, I was present. Or they may be feeling slightly regretful of, like, you know, when they're young, like maybe I'm working and I'm thinking about all the things that I'm able to provide them and the quality of life, but then you're not there, you're missing. And you may be listening to this thinking, oh, like maybe I should adjust that. And if you do feel that, it's never too late. I genuinely mean that. It's never ever too late, because like my dad sits at the dinner table with us now, and I don't ever think, oh, like you didn't when you were younger, or like it's just an appreciation of when he's there now. It's like almost like a nice thing. Like, so it's never too late. And when I say that, I don't mean that my dad did anything wrong. It's because he was working a lot. He used to work late at night. He had his own business and stuff, so he wasn't able to be with us, but he did other things that he was there. And I have something similar to say as well, so I'll get to that. One thing I wanted to say about what you were saying was, well, one thing I wanted to ask was, what is an example of when you felt most supported by your dad? Because what you're talking about is, while it's talking about like, you know, your dad being present and stuff, it's almost like he's giving you a sense of he'll always be there for you and support you. So what's one example of like where you felt really supported by your dad?
God, this is a hard one. Now you put me on the spot. Where I felt really supported. I don't know. That's difficult. It could
be small. It doesn't have to be some grand big thing that he did to support you.
I don't know. Like, I think, for example, like, this might sound so silly, but like when I wasn't driving and before, and I was obviously going to college, and when I first started personal training, I was not driving and I had to take equipment like on the bus and things like that. But he would always offer, and most of the time do, pick me up, take me there. Like, even my mum did this as well sometimes, but he would literally wait outside while I did a personal training session, just so that I wouldn't have to get on the bus home, wouldn't have to cart my equipment around. And they did that, and he did that for a very long time. And something so small like that, where he just showed me that support and that he was there for me, like something so little like that. So that's one thing. And everyone knows my dad's always there for anyone. Do you want a lift? Do you want this? Do you want that? Like, he'll always be there, like if you need something. So yeah, so that's something small that came to mind. It
does kind of translate to other areas of life, because if you know that he's going to be supportive of like small situations like that, you know he's going to be there for the big things as well.
Yeah, that's
like,
true.
You know, when you do have a baby, or when you are like moving out and things, you know that not that you can be dependent on him and rely on him, and in a negative sense, but you know that you'll almost feel more confident going into things like that, because you know that you have people there to help you.
Yeah,
and it's such a nice way to live life.
Yeah, I agree. I wouldn't want my life to be any different in terms of being how we are. Like, I remember actually when we were talking about moving out, me and Leon, and he said he wouldn't mind moving far away. I said, no way. I said, because family is everything to me. Like, I want to be able to see my family regularly. I want them to be there for me. I want to be there for them. So moving far away is something that would be awful for me. Like, and as much as that, it's nice to move away and start your own life, but for me, family is such a big thing, and not just my own family, but like, obviously when I have my own family, still my mom, my dad, my siblings, like everyone, like, you know, so
I agree with you there. I always thought that I could move really far and like just be like, cause this, you know what, like, as in we've done that, you know, that DISC assessment and things, and like you kind of identify personality roles, and obviously I'm quite independent and I can live life like with me in the driving seat. So I can, while I do like connection with people, but I can be also like quite an independent solo person. So like I always think I could just, you know, go abroad and live with my, like, you know, live like that and like travel the world and just be not near to family. And while I probably could, I've seen the side that you're saying as well, like of being really close and having that network there, people you can rely on, and also just like how it's impacted my children as well. So seeing like my two girls start to grow up with family members around them, and that how much happiness that brings them, and like stuff they say, like, you know, about where they want, what, like if I say, oh, what do you want to do today? Like, it's like, oh, I want to go here. And it's like, I want to go see my uncle. I want to see my aunt. I want to see my nan. Like, it's all that kind of stuff. And it just brings them pure joy. So yeah, like definitely wouldn't be able to maybe move, like have 2 homes one day where I could live partially somewhere, but never ever be too far away from family. I definitely agree on that one.
Yeah, and I think that's how I've been brought up. That's why now it's quite hard for me. Like, I guess if someone's been brought up not very close with their family, then that decision would probably be easier for them. But yeah, for me, it's a big no-no.
Yeah, especially when you have kids and stuff. I think it's nice to be close home, not close home, like at least within hours driving distance, I'd say. To be near family and have that network around you, especially when they're quite young. I think
you need
influence of grandparents, and not that you need it. I think more the positive impact it has on the kids.
Yeah.
Not necessarily you and the support it gives you, but just generally not just. I think you probably end up having a better relationship with your children simply because they then are not. They have other people to bounce off and interact with, as opposed to just imagine all you spoke to was just your partner, nobody else. I'm not saying that life would be terrible if you get on with your partner and you genuinely are like happy with them, but it probably would cause a few issues, to say the least, I guess. Do you get what I mean? Like, you're never exactly gonna just, you know, you need other connections in life as opposed to just with one person. And I think that's the same for children. They need teachers. They need other people in their life apart from just parents.
No, exactly. So what about for you then? What would you say?
So what I would like to say to my dad is what I'm appreciative and what I'm really grateful for is I think you've helped me be a better dad than I would have if you weren't my dad. So what I mean by that is because you taught me what it means to be responsible. So when I say you've taught me what it means to be responsible, is because you've always basically turned up. And like kind of like Sadie was saying about like, oh, you've turned up in ways that you've kind of like been there for events or, you know, family things. And I know I said like you weren't there for dinners and stuff, but you're always there when we need you, and you've always turned up in that way. But also you've had a responsibility to provide for us. So I always, when I was thinking about like what my life was like with childhood and stuff, like I didn't spend loads and loads and loads and loads of time with my dad, in the sense of like throughout the day or in the evenings and stuff, because he was working a lot, but he also was present. And when we were off, we would be able to go to his work and things like that and like be with him and have connection with him in different ways. Like my mum would keep us up when we were young till a bit later so that he could see us when he comes home from work, but just before we go to sleep. He always was, his responsibility was always to us. So what I mean by that is he or you, if you're listening to his dad, you made it feel like we had everything. And now I know that we, like when I think about how much, because I know like how much you earned and stuff, like when we were growing up and how much money you made and things like that, you made it feel like we were very wealthy. So that must have come, because I know the amounts it was and things like that, that must have come at a great deal of like, maybe not sacrifice to you, because it probably didn't feel like sacrifice, but you probably put us before yourself. So I'm not saying we had everything we wanted. So if I asked for new trainers and stuff, I wouldn't get them if I didn't need them. But everything I needed in life, I got. So whether it is, you know, needed help with, I don't know, tuition, or they sent me to swimming and I did extracurricular activities. Every school trip I had the opportunity to go on if I wanted to go on. And maybe there were struggles financially on their side of things, or they had discussions behind closed doors, but it was never to us. His responsibility was always to us. He always made it work. He always made it happen. And I know running a business, is not easy. There's so many challenges, especially over the last year and a bit. There's been so many challenges with COVID and things like that. But like, you make it work. And one of the reasons that I've made it work is because you've taught me you make it work. I know you had challenges with work. I know you at some point you had to get a job to make ends meet. I know you did things that you didn't want to because you were forced to, and you just did it without complaining. And I just want to say thank you, because you've taught me to... Give me a second here. You've taught me to not complain and just get on with life, basically. Like, you don't... Not that you do, you just taught me to be positive. I've never seen you someone who's a moaner, who's a complainer, who's spoke about not having enough, or not having enough time, not having enough money, not having... You just basically get on with it. You're very positive around everyone. You're very positive around all the people you interact with. You're known as like the guy who like kind of is fun, and everyone likes talking to you and things. But you're basically very positive. You're the person that everyone wants to be around. You've always shown that kind of like positive mindset throughout everything you've been through in life. And I'm sure you've had a lot to complain about. And maybe you do to like, mum and stuff like that, but you don't to us. You never have. You've always just gone with it. You roll with the punches, and you've been responsible. You've shown me what responsibility looks like, what it means to be a great dad and carry things on your shoulders, but just still show up and turn up and be there and be present, be the best you can be. And you've done that for us. You've made me who I am today, and you're my role model, and I'm just super grateful. Super grateful for you and everything you do, and how hard you've worked in your life to get us to where we are now, so that you've made to make our life a little bit easier, so that then we can then make our children's life a little bit easier for them to live happily and stuff. And I just really appreciate it. Go on.
I was going to say, do you feel like because now you're a dad yourself, that like, do you feel like you realized that before, or now that you're a dad, now that you notice these things more and realize like all those things that now maybe you're grateful for?
I think now more so than ever. When you have children, you really, really appreciate all the things your parents did. So things like my dad going to work a lot, I'm sure he probably would much rather have been seeing us a little bit more, been with us. I know he did see us a lot, because while he was at work, he was his job. Do you get what I mean? It was his shop, so he could come away from it when he needed to, and he did. I remember going to the park with him during lunch times when we were off on school holidays. I remember him coming to like doctor's appointments when we needed it. I remember him being at a lot of my hospital appointments. Like, I know he was able to be there at important things like school stuff. So that, as well as like, I kind of lost your question a bit, but I had gone off topic. But yeah, no, I've definitely noticed that more now that I have children. Whereas when I was growing up, potentially, or like there were certain things that I may have even been resentful for, like things that he might have said to me or done or whatever. Like, but now I realize that, that really actually taught me something at that moment. I understand. I get it. Like I and even things like like I was saying, like it must have been hard for him to work a lot. Things like, how hard it is to be a parent and not know what you're doing. So like I listen to books, I read a lot about parenting and things like that. At the age that he was growing up in, I guess that wasn't the normal thing to do. There was not like loads and loads of books. Every bookshelf there's like a section of parenting or podcasts you can just go, or just quick YouTube video, how to change a nappy, or and there's stigmas of like what a man's role was in that age. So like navigated all of those different things that he did, and just made it work.
Yeah.
Just kind of basically did what he thought was best, and never with the intent of harming us. He just went through and raised us. And I think for any parent, like when you think about it, like what they went through to get you to where you are now, no parent, unless you're like sick in the head, thinks I'm purposely going to harm my child. So there's things that we think, my mum didn't let me do this, or they spoke to me like this. They didn't mean it in that way. It was a moment of something that happened. They genuinely meant to, all at their core, all they do is want the best for you, and they love you.
Yeah.
And like my parents have done that, and my dad has definitely done that. But like, you appreciate all those things a lot more, and all the difficulties and the stress and then the hardships that they went through with everything that they were dealing with at the time.
Yeah, I agree.
And life is a lot easier for us now. We've got answers on tap when we need a question, like when we have a question. We can connect with family members very quickly and easily. We can find out what's going on with our kids. Like there's a lot. Parenting is a lot easier now than I guess it was back in the day. And I guess there's new challenges that we have to deal with that our parents didn't have to. But I think it's probably a lot easier. And I think that's what makes me so much more appreciative of my parents now that I have a child.
Yeah. And it's like when you're growing up and when you're young, you don't think of these things, do you? Like, it's not until, like you say, you're either a parent yourself or you get a lot older than you actually sit and realize actually all these things that you're grateful for. And I wouldn't have sat here and thought about it unless we had done this podcast. It wouldn't have even come to my mind. I wouldn't have even had to think, actually, what am I grateful for? So I'm actually so glad that we have done this, because it gives me a chance to sit there and think of what I'm grateful for.
Yeah, I think it's something that everyone should practice very regularly, even if it's not every day. Do it at least at the end of the week. Like, what are you grateful for about this week? With the people, it helps you have a better relationship with people, because every relationship is not perfect. I'm not talking about, for us not to be able to say this to our dads in front of their face and right in front of them is probably a sign that our relationships with our parents is not exactly perfect. It's not, we probably didn't grow up with the mentality that we exactly, say how we feel with our parents and stuff like that. Communication probably wasn't the best growing up. But at the same time, there's loads and loads and loads of things that you could take from them and their parenting that you could be appreciative of. And it makes your relationship so much better and happier. It makes you happier. Because you're just so much more like, just living life with appreciation is just the best way to live life, I think, with gratitude as well. And I know it sounds very hippie, and maybe you're not in a state of mind that you're willing to accept that, but I think once you start practicing it, you definitely see the benefits of it.
Well, I'm definitely going to start anyway.
What I would like to say to wrap this up is Happy Father's Day if you're listening to this on Father's Day and you're a dad. Hopefully your children are old enough to tell you how much, you mean to them today. But if they're not, let us tell you that one day in the future, they will be of an age where they can really, truly appreciate all the things you do. And even if they don't say it, I'm sure there's something that they are really appreciative of, because I know that I am. So thank you, Dad, for teaching me responsibility and what it means to be a man, and just how to be positive and not complain, basically. Just get on with life and just persevere and survive and be a great dad to my children. And I would like to extend that because I was actually going to share something about your dad as well. So,
was you?
Yeah, so, I see him as a dad as well, because for anyone who doesn't know, thinking, what the hell? Sadie's older sister is my partner. We have two beautiful children together, and that's how I met Sadie. So he is my father-in-law. So what I appreciate about him is similar to what you do as well. Like, he's always there. He's shown me like a lot of about similar things to what you said. But one other thing that you didn't mention was he showed me how to always persevere, like just to not give up. And basically, while there's hardships, while there's difficulties, you keep going, and you just you push on, and you persevere, because he's a very strong man. He showed me how to be a strong man as well. So on that note, I think we better end it there before we end up in more tears. I guess we've been quite soppy on this episode. It just goes to show how much our parents and our dads mean to us. I hope you found this episode useful, and I hope you found it of value and not just made you really emotional. I hope this helped you think about all the things you appreciate about your dad, and just in life in general. We will catch you on the next episode of the Stronger, Fitter, Happier podcast. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.